A single clue can crack a case, but in this episode, the first clue raises more questions than answers, and Rex is the first to sense that something is terribly wrong. The story begins with an uneasy calm settling over St. John's. It is early morning, and the streets are still quiet, but the silence doesn't last long. A call comes into Major Crimes about a strange discovery near the harbor. It's not a typical emergency, yet something about the tone of the caller hints at fear. When Hudson and Rex arrive, they find officers already gathered around a locked storage unit belonging to a local fisherman who has been missing for 2 days. At first glance, nothing seems out of place, no signs of struggle, no damage to the lock, nothing that suggests foul play. But the moment Rex steps closer, his posture stiffens, his ears rise, his breathing slows, and his nose follows a faint scent that no one else notices. That's when the atmosphere shifts. Hudson can sense it too. Whatever lies behind that metal door is not ordinary evidence. When the unit is opened, everyone expects supplies or fishing gear. Instead, they find a carefully arranged pile of personal items belonging to the missing man: his jacket, his watch, and a torn piece of a map marked with a red X over the shoreline. Everything looks intentionally placed, almost like someone wanted the police to find it. But there's something else, something that Rex discovers before anyone else. Hidden under the jacket is a scrap of fabric that doesn't match any of the missing man's clothing. It is darker, rougher, and torn with force. Rex noses it and pushes it toward Hudson, as if insisting they look closer. The officers exchange worried glances. The fisherman did not disappear by accident. Someone else was involved, and they were careful enough to leave behind a misleading trail. Hudson studies the map while Rex keeps circling the unit, searching for more traces. The red X marks an area of rocky shoreline known for dangerous tides. It is not a place anyone visits casually. This clue raises a new question. Why would the missing man mark a location that most residents avoid? The answer doesn't come right away, but the sense of danger grows stronger. Hudson asks for details from the team and learns that the missing fisherman had recently been arguing with someone on the docks. No name, no description, only that the confrontation seemed heated. This makes things more complicated. Was the fisherman lured there? Was he planning to meet someone? Or was the map planted to shift suspicion? Rex suddenly stops near the entrance of the unit, his nose pressed to the ground. Hudson follows his lead and notices faint dried mud tracks leading away from the storage area. They are too clean and narrow to be from fishing boots. They appear to belong to a different type of shoe lighter, softer, more suited to someone trying not to be heard. The realization hits Hudson. Someone else was here not long ago. Someone who wanted the police to find the belongings, but not the truth. The storage unit is no longer just a place where items were left. It is a message, a warning, a challenge. Hudson pockets the torn fabric and folds the map carefully. The case has now shifted from a simple missing person report to something far deeper. Every detail in the storage unit feels like part of a larger puzzle. And as Hudson locks the unit again, Rex lets out a low growl toward the shoreline in the distance, as if sensing that the danger ahead is closer than anyone realizes. The investigation has barely begun, yet already the stakes feel higher than usual. The clues don't form a clear picture, but one thing is certain: someone is trying very hard to control the story. And Hudson knows that when a suspect tries to shape the narrative, the truth is usually something they want to hide. Hudson and Rex move toward the shoreline marked on the map, unsure of what they'll find but certain the missing fisherman's trail leads in this direction. The path is rough and uneven, covered in weeds that sway in the cold breeze coming from the ocean. It feels like a forgotten route, one that only someone desperate or determined would choose. Rex keeps pulling ahead, guided by sense that grows stronger with every step. Hudson notices how focused he is, ears locked forward, tail stiff, signs that Rex is following something important. The deeper they go, the more Hudson realizes this place isn't just remote. It feels intentionally avoided, as though someone wanted to keep curious people far away. Halfway down the path, Hudson spots faint footprints pressed into the dirt. They match the lighter tracks from the storage unit. Whoever walked here did so carefully, placing each step with precision. The prints don't look rushed, which means the person was confident no one was watching. But the real surprise comes when Rex veers off the path and stops near a cluster of rocks. Hudson joins him and sees a thin trail of red fibers caught on a jagged edge. The fibers look similar to the torn fabric from the storage unit, which makes Hudson's thoughts race. The missing fisherman didn't leave these fibers. Someone else didn't. That someone didn't expect a dog like Rex to find them. The shoreline comes into view, cold and sharp, with waves slamming against the rocks as if trying to warn anyone brave enough to approach. Hudson studies the area and notices something odd. A section of the rocks looks recently disturbed, sand is pushed aside, and a few stones are out of place. Rex circles it several times, sniffing deeply before letting out a sharp bark. That's when Hudson sees, it half buried in the sand is a small metal case, rusted but recently handled. The latch is broken, as if someone tore it open in a hurry. Inside lies a waterproof notebook filled with pages of scribbled coordinates, tide patterns, and names of boats that come and go at strange hours. None of it looks like harmless fishing notes. In fact, it looks more like the type of information someone would collect if they were tracking secret movements. Hudson flips through the pages, and one word appears repeatedly underlined in heavy ink: Nightfall. It doesn't make sense at first, but the repetition suggests importance. Hudson turns to Rex, who is now pacing, nose pointed toward a section of dark water just beyond the rocks. Something about the word nightfall, the hidden notes, and the missing fisherman begins to form a troubling idea in Hudson's mind. Maybe this wasn't a random disappearance. Maybe the fisherman stumbled onto something he shouldn't have. Something happening under the cover of darkness. Before Hudson can study the notebook further, the sound of footsteps breaks the silence. They are faint but fast, moving away rather than toward them. Hudson looks up just in time to see a shadow disappear between the rocks. Rex reacts instantly, sprinting after the fleeing figure with Hudson close behind. The chase is difficult, the rocks are slippery, and the wind makes every sound echo, but Rex doesn't falter. His instincts guide him with a certainty Hudson trusts more than any clue or witness. The figure ahead moves with skill, knowing exactly where to step to stay hidden. It's clear this person is no amateur. The chase ends abruptly when the figure reaches a steep drop overlooking the water. Rather than fight or surrender, the person leaps into the waves below, disappearing into the churning sea before Hudson can get a clear look at their face. Rex barks, frustrated, as Hudson scans the water, but the figure is gone as quickly as they appeared. It's obvious now that someone is determined to keep this mystery buried. The notebook, the fibers, the planted items, all of it points to a carefully crafted plan. But there's one thing the suspect didn't expect: Rex's ability to track the truth. Even when the trail is cold, as Hudson and Rex catch their breath, the wind grows colder, and a new fear settles in. Someone is watching their every move. Someone who knows the shoreline, the tides, and the shadows better than anyone. And if this person was willing to leap into dangerous waters just to avoid being seen, then whatever secret they're hiding is something far darker than a simple disappearance. The case has now shifted from a mystery into a warning. Keep digging, and the danger will only get worse. But Hudson knows they can't turn back now. Not when Rex is already following the faint scent of a truth that someone is fighting hard to keep hidden. Hudson and Rex return to the station with the notebook sealed inside an evidence bag. But even within the safe walls of major crimes, the mystery feels like it is growing larger. The scribbled coordinates and midnight schedules leave everyone uneasy. Jesse begins cross-checking boat names while Sarah examines the fibers Rex discovered. Each clue reveals a bit more, yet none of it forms a clear picture. The missing fisherman still hasn't shown up, and the figure who escaped into the water remains unidentified. Hudson senses tension building in the room. Everyone can feel that the case is slipping somewhere unexpected. Somewhere darker than anyone had guessed. Hours pass before Sarah calls Hudson over with an update. The fibers from the rocks and the storage unit aren't from ordinary clothing. They belong to a type of tactical jacket used for cold weather operations. The kind worn by people who spend long hours on the water at night. The jacket isn't sold locally, which means whoever left the trail isn't a casual visitor. They came prepared. Sarah also finds faint traces of engine oil embedded in the fibers. Not the kind used in fishing boats but in smaller high-speed vehicles. Hudson thinks back to the shadowy figure who vanished into the waves. Someone agile. Someone familiar with dangerous terrain. Someone not afraid of the dark ocean. The connection sends a cold pulse through his thoughts. Whoever they're dealing with is trained, cautious, and very comfortable hiding. Meanwhile, Jesse finishes matching the coordinates from the notebook to real locations. Most are harmless patches of open water or small inlets, but one set stands out, marked with the word Nightfall beside it. It corresponds to an isolated cove with a narrow entrance, a place nearly invisible during high tide. Boats could slip in and out at night without anyone noticing, and according to the notebook, several vessels have been meeting there in the early hours before dawn. Hudson studies the pattern, and the truth becomes impossible to ignore. This cove isn't just a hidden spot, it's a meeting point. A place where something secret is happening. Something the missing fisherman may have discovered. Rex senses Hudson's shift in energy. He rises from the floor, alert again, as if he knows the investigation is headed toward a breakthrough. Hudson kneels and scratches behind his ear, grateful for Rex's focus. Every major clue so far has started with him. Hudson has solved many cases with Rex, but this time feels different. Instead of pulling one thread and unraveling the truth, each clue is pulling them deeper into a maze. The people behind this mystery are careful, maybe even organized, and they are leaving behind hints only because they believe no one will piece them together fast enough. Just as Hudson prepares to leave for the cove, Joe bursts into the room with new information. The fisherman's bank account shows strange activity, withdrawals at odd times and deposits that don't match his regular income. It looks like he was being paid for something, maybe quietly, maybe reluctantly. Joe explains that the last transaction was made only hours before he disappeared, and it came from an account tied to a shell company that doesn't exist anywhere officially. The case takes an immediate and unsettling turn. Maybe the fisherman wasn't just an innocent witness. Maybe he was involved in something he couldn't control anymore. Hudson tries to piece together the timeline. The fisherman receives payments. He secretly tracks boat movements. He marks the hidden cove on a map. Then suddenly, he vanishes, and someone starts leaving misleading clues behind. It's impossible to tell whether the fisherman was trying to escape, expose someone, or bargain his way out of a dangerous situation. But one thing is clear. The person who confronted Hudson on the rocks was not a random criminal. They were protecting something valuable. Something they couldn't risk losing. As the team prepares for the next step, Rex wanders to the evidence table, nose pressed against the notebook bag. He gives a soft huff, a quiet but firm reminder that the answers are out there buried in the cove, hidden behind tides, and guarded by people who won't let their secrets go without a fight. Hudson feels a rising urgency. This isn't just a missing person case anymore. It's a warning wrapped in layers of silence. And the one place where everything seems to point is the isolated cove marked Nightfall. Hudson knows they can't wait until morning. Whatever is happening in that cove happens in darkness. And if they want to uncover the truth, they'll have to step straight into the shadows where this entire mystery began. Night settles over the coastline as Hudson and Rex approach the hidden cove, guided only by dim moonlight and the coordinates from the notebook. The air feels heavier here, colder, as if the place itself knows it was never meant to be found. The path to the cove is narrow and uneven, forcing Hudson to move slowly, but Rex remains steady, nose close to the ground, following invisible scents with unwavering certainty. The closer they get to the water, the more the world around them changes. The usual calm rhythm of the ocean is replaced by a dull, irregular thumping metal against metal, faint but unmistakable. Something is happening inside that cove, something the darkness doesn't fully hide. When they reach the final ridge before the shoreline, Hudson crouches low, listening. Below them, several boats sit anchored in the shadows. Their lights are dimmed, their engines off, yet figures move around them with a sense of purpose. The boats aren't fishing vessels. They're smaller, sleeker, built for speed rather than work. The sound of crates being shifted, locked, and secured carries through the wind. Hudson watches closely and catches sight of a symbol painted on the hull of the largest boat, a symbol that matches one found scribbled inside the fisherman's notebook. This is the meeting point. This is what the missing man discovered. And now Hudson is staring directly at the operation someone has tried so desperately to hide. Rex stiffens as a figure steps onto the shore, scanning the surroundings with a flashlight kept low to avoid attention. Hudson recognizes the jacket even in the dim light. The same tactical style Sarah identified. The same dark fabric fibers Rex sniffed out earlier. This is the person who fled across the rocks, the one who leapt into the water without hesitation. Now they're back, checking the area with an intensity that suggests they sense something is wrong. Hudson stays perfectly still, trusting Rex to remain silent. A single slip could end the investigation, here or worse. The figure moves toward a crate at the edge of the shore, opens it, and begins arranging something inside. Hudson can't see what it is, but the careful precision with which the person works hints at value. Not money, not ordinary cargo, something far more dangerous. The pieces finally start to fall into place. The fisherman must have been documenting these exchanges, tracking the patterns, trying to understand what he had stumbled into. But when he got too close, the people behind the operation realized he was becoming a threat, so they silenced him either by force or by fear. Hudson knows he needs proof. Something solid that ties the boats, the crates, and the mysterious group together. He edges closer, slow enough not to draw attention. Rex stays at his side, muscles tight, breathing sharp and controlled. They make it halfway down the slope when a sudden crunch of gravel gives them away. The sound is small, almost harmless, but in the silence of the cove, it lands like a warning bell. The flashlight snaps upward. For a split second, Hudson and the figure lock eyes. Then everything erupts at once. The person bolts toward the boats, shouting a signal to the others. Engines roar to life. Footsteps thunder against the rocks. The once quiet cove becomes a surge of frantic movement. Hudson rushes forward, calling Rex to stay close. The figure from the rocks sprints toward the closest boat, but Rex launches himself with a speed that surprises even Hudson. He intercepts the figure before they reach the water, knocking them off balance. The two struggle on the rocky shore as the other boats begin peeling away into the night. Hudson charges in and manages to pull the person from Rex's grip, pinning them to the ground before they can escape again. The flashlight falls, rolling across the ground and illuminating the open crate the figure had been handling. Inside are sealed containers labeled with chemical warnings, materials no civilian should ever possess, especially in large quantities. Hudson finally understands why the fisherman vanished. He wasn't part of their group. He wasn't being paid to help them. He was being paid to stay silent after accidentally witnessing something dangerous. And when the silence broke, the group acted swiftly to protect what they were moving through the cove. Rex stands guard as Hudson cuffs the suspect, but the victory feels incomplete. The rest of the boats are already gone, swallowed by the darkness they use as a shield. Hudson radios for backup, but he knows the people behind this are organized enough to vanish before the team arrives. Still, tonight isn't a loss. They've captured a key player. They've uncovered the truth behind the fisherman's disappearance, and they now hold evidence strong enough to break open whatever network has been hiding in the shadows. As Rex sits beside him, breathing steady and eyes alert, Hudson feels the weight of the case settle differently. The danger isn't over. The operation isn't finished. But something important has shifted. The darkness they were fighting is no longer a secret, and the people behind Nightfall know that major crimes and Rex are closing in fast.